Hi, I'm Steve Ziskowski. I'm the founder of Caerusnet, and the anticipation is building for the July 19th Caerusnet Breakfast. Very excited about that. With me, I've got Jason Tracey. As you can tell, I've dressed for the occasion because Jason has also dubbed me a difference maker, which I greatly appreciate. I want people to know how much I care when I work with them, and I hope it shows. And I love being with people that are like that. Jason, obviously, no exception. Um, Jason, thanks for all you do for Caerusnet and the Caerusnet community. You bring a lot of those background stories out of people during your podcast that we just don't have time to cover during a Caerusnet meeting. And it's just such a pleasure to refer to you. So thanks for taking a few minutes today to talk with me today about the breakfast and your involvement in it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm super excited for July. This is my favorite event of the whole entire year. And I say this over and over again. It's like drinking from the fire hose of the most incredible people. And so this year to have a table set up and just like I'm only anticipate the energy and connections and relationships that we'll build.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about that. The Caerusnet Breakfast, it's this July. We've got three speakers at it. We've got our headline sponsor, which is Alan Hamilton. We've got another speaker, Eloisa Underwood. She's a text message marketing specialist, Alan Hamilton with ATA Residential Solutions Home Remodeling. And then we also have you as the person bringing some roar to the event. And the fun thing about that is when you and I were talking about collaborating with for this event, I said, hey, you know what? I would love to meet some of your guests that I've listened to over the last few years on the podcast. Jason, what would you think about inviting some of the Coffee and Grit alum to be a part of this? Because this is like the networking event of the year.
It's the networking event of the year. So a couple things, and it's all about the benefit for everybody, right? And so to get an opportunity for people for the guests that have been on the show, for all of you difference makers that have been on Coffee and Grit that are not in CirrusNet, because there's in the Venn diagram of things, there's a lot of crossover. It's where I've met so many incredible people with incredible stories, the entrepreneurs that are out doing the things. But for those that have not attended a CirrusNet event, this is the event of the year. So it's giving them an opportunity to be able to come out, meet some incredible people, and again, people that have listened to them, that have heard their story, and so they get to hear that, see that, and they get to meet new people, and vice versa. The people from SiriusNet that have listened to the stories get to meet and put a face, a name, and just build really amazing connections. And we talked about it, social currency, right? It's all about the relationships, and it's a pleasure to me, and I'm so grateful to be able to be here 4 years in to Coffee and Grit and to be recognized with it, and to have you reach out and say, "Hey, I would love to have the people that I've listened to be at this event."
Absolutely. Yeah. And it is, when you talk about that Venn diagram, people on your podcast, they're most of them are local businesses. They count on relationships to propel their business. They love referrals and meeting new businesses, and you cannot be in any better environment than at the Caerusnet Breakfast or meeting people because when you go to networking events, you don't always know like who's there that's actually really interested in meeting people, right? Some
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
very, but then you meet Caerusnet people and they're like, and it's so much more fun to be around people that are like, hey, come talk to me. It's such a huge difference, right?
It's a huge difference, and I'm giggling because I think of like what we started kind of the tradition 2 years ago with our Wednesday 10 a.m. crew, and we're known as the Woot Woot crew because it's like hyping it up and bringing the energy, right? And now last year I saw there was like a competitiveness, as far as my team's better than yours, but kind of in a fun way, and it's a really, you've built a phenomenal culture with this group, with this organization, and that people have the open hearts. They're heart centered. They really do care. They really do want to give back. They're not just walking around thinking about them. We're all in business intentionally. We know if we go out and do good things for people, we're all going to be taken care of. And what's really cool, I tell this to everybody, and Coffee and Grit listeners or guests have heard this several times, is that the bad eggs, the turds, as Trisha Turner would say it, they flush themselves out pretty quickly, and literally.
Absolutely. So uh, let's talk about another thing too. Podcast listeners, prior to maybe a few months ago, were coming to your podcast and they were drinking bottles of water, or if they didn't like coffee, they were drinking tea. And all of a sudden, Jason Tracey is a coffeepreneur
Coffeepreneur.
as well too. And I'm really excited to know that your brand of coffee is going to be the coffee served, the really good coffee being served at the breakfast this year. Tell us about that. What is, and are you going to have any available for sale?
Yeah, so first we will have bags of of Lion's Breath, or my official coffee for coffee and grit at the event, but it will be served in the served coffee at the Crystal Gardens there. And so super excited about that. First off, just the aroma, the majestic smell that's going to be on cage that morning is enough to make difference makers get up and be excited. So I'm really excited for everybody to taste this. I told my son when we first rolled this out, there's nothing better than having a superior product. There's nothing better than having something that you know is the absolute best thing that anybody's ever tasted or smelled. Then when you're serving your friends and family and people are reaching out to you and you can actually give them and supply them with something that incredible, I wake up every day to messages that are just awesome with like, we're starting my morning out. This is the most amazing coffee. I'm addicted. Like my husband says we can't drink any other coffee besides this. And I don't know, it's just so different from a coaching and consulting standpoint and speaking and doing those things. It's so awesome to have this intangible product that's, I can get in people's hands and just light up their life and again make that difference.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's Roar Consulting. Jason Tracey's one of the best sales coaches out there a person can work with. He uncages lions, helps them become difference makers. Also an entrepreneur that just loves getting to know businesses, getting to know their stories so he can learn and share their stories with others through his Coffee and Grit podcast. Jason, I'm so excited to be partnering with you this year, and I can't wait to try this coffee for the first time
Ah,
myself when I come to Michigan in July as well too.
I'm pumped up.
All right. Thank you, Jason Tracey. Looking forward to seeing all of you at the member breakfast this year.